Hey, Claire here again, talking about an antidote. An antidote that allows us to live in this crazy digital world and feel like we're thriving rather than just surviving. So, yesterday I introduced the three ingredients of that antidote, and I thought I'd talk about the first one today, dive in a little deeper to that. And it really is very simple. It's about a deep sense of who you are at your core, a sense of yourself. And I'm not talking about a sense of self that is your relationships, is your career, is your how much money you have, where you live, your family, your culture, all of that stuff. I'm really talking about a sense of who you are before any of that stuff, underneath it all. And the reason why I think this is really important is that as we're growing up, it's inevitable that we are subject to cultural and social programming. You know, we're like little sponges, and we are learning from what's going on around us, from the people around us, from our parents, from teachers, from what we see on the TV, everything. And there's a risk, there's a really big risk that if we don't stay tuned into who we are at our core, that we end up disconnected from it, from us, from ourselves. And, it's really, really easy to plug in to the mill, to the culture scape that we're in, to external messages, how we should be, what we should do, blah, 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 all of that stuff. So that's really what I'm talking about here, is tuning back into that fully. And it starts with an awareness of it, an awareness of our programming. You know, just having an awareness of the fact that it's not real. It's not black and white, right or wrong, true or false. It's just messaging that we've taken on board. It's our brain adopting different strategies, learning, looking for direction. It's not real. And as we begin to be more aware of it, we can observe it a little bit more effectively. And this is really, really, really important if you're a parent, because, we can see it in ourselves. If we can start seeing in ourselves where that programming is kicking in, then we can empower our kids to not be had by some of this stuff. We're not passing it on. We're not continuing the cycle, so to speak. It's not easy. It really is not easy. And it's about being aware without judgment, or at least too much judgment. I'm not so great at that. So here's an example. If you've grown up in a house, an environment where success is very much seen as a big house, a big car, nice holidays, a really good job, career, professional career, all of that stuff. And you were around people that looked up to that. They were looking up at that. That's going to rub off. One way or another, it's going to rub off. Maybe you've rebelled completely against that, or maybe it's formed part of your drivers, what drives you in life. And I'll own this one. For a long time, that's what drove me. And it took me a long time to really see it, that it wasn't real. And it was programming. And actually, a lot of it wasn't necessarily lighting me up. And I think that's a lot to do with when we find ourselves at a point in life where we're like, this isn't what we're expected to feel. This isn't it. You know, I've done everything I thought would make me happy and it's not working. Well, there's a thought. Maybe it's not your stuff, you know? It's not your compass. It's somebody else's or other people's, the culturescapes. So anyway, that's the first one. Awareness is everything. And you know what? It's going to bite you on the bum. The choice to buy the flash car or to create more freedom in your life by taking a holiday or cutting your hours at work. You know, it's that sort of stuff that shapes your life and your experience of life. And unless you are aware of your programming, it's kind of, it makes it a lot more difficult. So that's the first one. The second one is really knowing what's important to you, what you believe in, and what your values are. Now, when I took a deep dive myself into this, it actually blew me away just how obvious it was where I was in alignment with my values in my life and where I wasn't. And I'll give you an example. I've got one of my values, or what's important to me is freedom. It's really important to me. It's right up there. And I can literally feel the wheels falling off when I feel like my wings are clipped. And it will play out in a number of ways. I won't be very happy. I'm not a happy person and I'm not nice to be around. That's the first way. It could also play out in self-sabotage and bad habits. So here's an example. I also, whilst I love freedom and it's a real value, I also very easily slip into routine and pattern. Like a regulator, you know? And that's all well and good. That's part of who I am too. But when that part of me takes over and my freedom is squashed, ooh, shit kicks off. And it can result in Friday night, you know, 1,000,000 calories in carbs and wine going down the hatch. You know, even if I'm in dry January, because my freedom has been clipped so much that a part of me goes, fuck that. I need to let my hair down. I need to unfurl my wings. I can eat whatever I like. I can drink whatever I like. And all of this stuff can kick off. But having an awareness of that means that you can bring, in my case, I can bring more freedom into my life, even if it's in small ways. And I can start aligning my life more closely to my values. And going back to the flash car analogy, for me, if the old programming kicks in, you know, you've got to have, you need this, you need that. Success equals this, equals that. If it's a decision between the flash car or booking the plane tickets, guess which way I'm heading? That's what I'm saying. And awareness of values, really, really important. And the third one is what really, 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 really lights you up. What makes your heart sing? What do you want? What do you love? And this can be a sticky one too, because we think we know, but unless you've got the first two sorted, this one can be a bit of a woolly area. And, you know, there's often a real I don't know when people are asked this question. I'm not sure. I really don't know what I want. And that's fine. That is absolutely fine. And you can do the work to find out. You can take a deep dive. And one of the first things you can do as a tip, I mean, this area is far too big to waffle on about now, but one of the first things you can do is to have a think about, who were you as a child? Before all this shit kicked off, who were you as a child? You know, what did you do? What did you love to do? What were you like as a kid? And just tune into that. Just tune into that for a little bit, and see what comes up. Just see what comes up. And also, coupled with that, when you're at your best, and you are in flow, that's like what? What's that like for you? Where do you feel that? What are you doing? What are you doing to trigger flow? Who are you with? What comes up for you? And just connect with that. And notice where in your life right now that is playing out or not. So I've waffled on and I've barely skimmed this, but I guess it's a sense of the first ingredient starts with you. It has to. It has to take the form of a deep dive, because when you know who you are at your core, stuff starts to bounce off. External noise, messages, instructions, directions, barometers for success, all of that stuff starts to bounce off. And it gives you the room and a chance to breathe so you can create a life you love. So that's it. I hope that made some sort of sense. Anyway, I'll see you later. Bye.